Hey everyone, welcome to Diversity of Life, with me, Nasi. I caught myself a case of the snuffles last week, so for episode 14, I thought I'd touch on the affliction affecting me, the common cold. But just what is it? What is the common cold? Well, it's a viral form of infectious disease. This means that the symptoms you feel while sick are caused by a thing called a virus. These viruses can be acquired by interacting with someone else that has the virus in their body, hence the infectious element. What is a virus? Why do they want us dead? In simple terms, a virus is a section of genetic material that wants to replicate itself. Without a host, a virus is comprised of a protein shell, some liquid coating, and surrounding a string of genetic material. A lot of them almost look like a spaceship, but in fact they come in a whole variety of shapes and sizes. These sizes can range from 20 to 400 nanometers or 1/1000th of a meter in diameter. The way they work is that they float around in their protein ship until taken into a host. This transfer can come from the environment, like in the air or water, or by contact, like by shaking hands with an infected individual. Once in a host, they get to work. The protein ship lands on a target cell. This inserts its genetic material into the host. From there, the viral genetic material tells the cell to make more of itself. The cell does just that, copying and pasting the virus over and over and over until there's no room left, and pop, out comes thousands of copies of the virus, off to kill more cells, replicate itself, and infect a new host. So why do they want us dead? Well, they don't necessarily do. They just want to thrive and spread, reproduce like any other organism on the planet. They want to live. But on that note, we're not sure if they are alive. The fundamental unit of life is usually known as the cell, but viruses aren't enclosed in a cell. They're just floating genetic material in a protein coat that's quite different from what a cellular structure normally is. In fact, even if you expand what is living to what has DNA, virus genetic material can be DNA or RNA. Sometimes their DNA has additional elements than ours, and some viral relatives, known as prions, have no DNA or RNA. They're just self-replicating infectious proteins. So scientists don't really know whether they fall in or outside of the tree of life. And if that's the case, if we don't know if they're even alive, where did they come from? Well, we don't actually know that either. But there are three main hypotheses that try to help to explain where they could have originated. One is that they were parasites. Similar to the parasitoids I discussed in episode 6, they could have been cells living in larger cells that regressed and no longer needed organelles and other cellular structures. Another hypothesis is that they come from our own DNA. That at some time in history, some strand of our own DNA went rogue and started self-replicating itself. Then it escaped the cell and went rampant, becoming its own form of organism. Lastly, a hypothesis exists that suggests that they evolved at the beginning of life itself. That while one branch, our branch, went to self-replicate, make cells, and go on to make the whole tree of life, these emerged at the same time but were slightly different. The existence of prions supports this, as it shows that replication is possible without DNA or RNA. And if prions exist, what else could self-replicate in the universe? With millions of different varieties of viruses, it is likely that they evolved numerous times convergently. So it's actually possible that each of these hypotheses could be true. What about the common cold specifically? What makes the cold we all know and love? The common cold is actually a large group of viruses known as rhinoviruses. These are viruses that can only reproduce in temperatures of 33 to 35 degrees Celsius, generally lower than the body's resting temperature. So these are generally viruses that target the upper respiratory system of the nose and lungs. That's actually one of the reasons why they got their name, the cold, because they actually prefer the colder temperatures. And this is also why we see the symptoms that we do within the upper respiratory system of coughing and sneezing and the like. There are approximately 200 viruses that cause the symptoms of the common cold. the common cold isn't so much the virus itself, but actually the symptoms that we exhibit. Any viruses that cause coughing, sore throat, runny nose, sneezing, headache, and fever are generally known as a common cold. That's what makes this disease so hard to eliminate. There's just so many things that cause it. That doesn't stop us from trying though. A really cool study from Gabarron and company from 2007 investigated an economically viable way to produce virus-deteriorating proteins, or antigens, in the form of a vaccine to the common cold. Based on their research, there exists a vaccine to the common cold, but to produce it would be so costly, it's impossible really. So their solution? Grow the vaccine in an insect larvae. They found if they genetically engineered insect larvae, the larva would produce between 75 and 100 milligrams of the antigen vaccine, which, if it came down to it, might actually pose an economically viable way to produce this antigen. So the cure to the common cold may lie in insects. Entomologists win again! But until that time when insect babies cure our colds, how do we combat the common cold? Well, there are a number of ways. As I said, these rhinoviruses like it cold. So drinking hot fluids or breathing hot steam helps to kill the virus. Another way is to make sure you get lots of rest so your body can put energy towards fighting the virus and recovering damaged cells. Gargling with salt water can kill infectious cells and remove persistent viruses. Using a saline nasal spray helps to flood the nasal passage, removing the infectious tissue and mucus. The best way to prevent getting the virus is actually washing your hands regularly and avoiding touching the face where they could infect. And there you have it, a summary of the common cold. As always, I want to hear from you. Did I touch on all the sickly details you needed to know? Any questions about viruses left unanswered? Think I'm going to die from the bird flu? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my furry antics, follow me on Twitter. Now, I am a sleepy bird. So I'm gonna sleep off the remnants of this cold. Stay healthy, everyone. Oh, yeah. And I'll see you later.